If you've been looking for a church to attend or a ministry to get involved with, we have a very special program for you today. Hello and welcome to Ministry Connections. I am Evangelist Patrick Hoban, the local ministry director here at Salem and AM 980 The Mission. Each week on Ministry Connections, we spotlight a local church or ministry in the Twin Cities for you to get to know them just a little bit better. If you know of a church or ministry that you would like us to feature, just call the station or drop us an email at comments@salemtc.com. Now, you can also follow us on our Facebook or YouTube pages and see past and present programming there. Just look for AM 980 The Mission. Now, I'm excited to have, once again, Cathy Blaeser of Minnesota Citizens Concerned for Life back on the program. Welcome back, Cathy.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I'm so glad to be here again.
You know, if you did not hear or see our first interview with Cathy, it's really important that you check that out because there's so much important information on that interview, and it would arm you as we enter into this new election season. Now, the last time we mentioned how the government here in Minnesota is so pro-abortion, and our current governor is that way, and now they're looking for national elections. How important is it that the electorate go out there and vote? And also, are there updates to what has happened since the last time we had you on the program?
There are some years that I feel like I always say what a critical election this is. This year's election is so critical, and every single vote counts. We just won a primary in Minnesota by 35 votes. Wow. Every vote is important. Please, I would just beg your listeners not to waste their vote, not to ignore their vote, to make sure when they wake up on November 6th, they have voted, that they didn't miss that opportunity because every single vote is so important. And we are now looking at the possibility of exporting the extreme abortion and even infanticide laws that we have here in Minnesota to a national level if Governor Walz actually wins that vice presidential and presidential ticket with Kamala Harris. So it's just urgent that everyone get out, get informed, share the information, and make sure you're at the polls either now or certainly by November 5th.
Absolutely. You know, this is why we're doing this program here, and you can share it with other people on our Facebook and YouTube pages. It's very important. But, you know, I didn't realize how heinous the abortion idea here is in Minnesota, that there's no protections whatsoever for the baby. Explain a little bit about that.
We have in Minnesota, they passed into our law in 2023, Governor Walz and the pro-abortion leadership at the legislature with a very slim trifecta. They had 4 votes in the House, 1 vote in the Senate, and Governor Walz in the governor's mansion. And with that very slim trifecta, they passed abortion up to birth for any reason and for no reason, with no protections for viable babies at all, no protections for women in terms of receiving informed consent, receiving information on alternatives if they want to have their baby, what resources are available to them. That information no longer has to be given. No protections against the dangerous drugs of chemical abortions. No protections in terms of walking into outpatient surgical clinics. Abortion facilities are basically outpatient surgical clinics, and they are not licensed or inspected here in Minnesota. So they are actually exempted out of the licensing and inspection requirements of other outpatient surgical facilities. So
that's amazing to me because, you know, in schools you need all kinds of notes and everything just to get an aspirin, yet you can go ahead and do this procedure that has consequences not only in this life but eternity also. You know, the hurricane that came into Florida this past weekend, you know, it's all over the news. More than 100 people died in that hurricane, and it's tragic. But how many abortions are there per day?
Somebody would have to do that math. There's at least 1,000 a month and growing. We know in 2022, just here in Minnesota, there were 12,175 abortions. Then they changed our law. That was a 20% increase from 2021. And then in 2023, they changed our law to allow for unlimited abortion anytime in pregnancy. They repealed our viability law. We had a viability law where babies were protected at the point of viability. That law is no more. We have abortion up to birth for any reason and for no reason. But I think the most disturbing thing that they did, and I may have mentioned this last time, is that they changed our abortion reporting requirements. We should know by now how many abortions were happened in Minnesota in 2023. But they changed the law to increase the availability of abortion and the length of time through which you can have an abortion in Minnesota. And they also changed the reporting deadline for that information. So we will not know the repercussions of those law changes until after the election.
And it's probably set up that way. You are listening to Ministry Connections on AM 980 The Mission, where we give you a better look at local ministries or churches. And you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. Just look for AM 980 The Mission. Now, my guest today is Cathy Blaeser of Minnesota Citizens Concerned for Life, and she's back on the program. And, I just thought about this. A teenage girl, she's 12, 13, 14 years of age. What right does the parents of that child have when it comes to information that she might be getting an abortion?
Up to January of 2023, the parents had the right to be notified if their daughter was seeking an abortion. But that law was, again, stopped by the 2023 legislature. They wanted to repeal it. It is not being enforced, but it is still on the books. But parents have no rights. They have no right to be notified here in Minnesota about their daughters seeking an abortion. No right at all.
It's amazing, and there's other fallout that people don't realize. Fathers don't have a say, or grandchildren, and these crazy laws, basically death laws in a way, are denying fathers or grandparents a say in this. So besides the election that's coming up, and it's very important to get out there and vote, what other things practically can somebody do to help your organization or other pro-life organizations or people considering an abortion? What can they practically do, Cathy?
Well, letting people know that there are organizations out there that want to help mothers and unborn children and fathers as well. Our pregnancy resource centers across the state are there to help women, to actually provide help to a woman who says, I don't know how I'm going to have this baby, or I don't know how I'm going to afford this baby. Because when a woman says that, she's not asking for a dead baby. Mm-hmm. She's asking for help. And it's our pregnancy resource centers across the state that actually provide that help. They provide material help. They provide support help. They provide fatherhood classes. They provide life coaching. They provide car seat programs. They provide the actual help to the actual cry from that mother who's facing a difficult or unexpected or a pregnancy where she sees a lot of obstacles. So supporting those organizations is a wonderful way to have a hands-on, boots-on-the-ground impact on abortion numbers in our state. Because even if abortion is legal, it doesn't have to be what women choose. If we reach out to women and tell them that we are here for them, many women say that if one person had offered to help, they would not have chosen an abortion.
Wow, that's amazing. And maybe you're listening or watching this program today, you could be that one person, and don't think otherwise, because all of us have a role to play in this terrible infanticide that's going on all across the world, and especially in our own nation. People like to put, as it were, a story behind the problem or the issue. Can you tell us a story maybe of how your organization or organizations like you have practically helped somebody that you may have known?
Well, one of the things that we do at MCCL is we have a Choose Life drive at the end of every year. So it starts on December 15th, where people can send anything a pregnancy resource center might need: clothing, baby clothing, maternity clothing, diapers, wipes. We get little bouncy seats, all kinds of information for moms and for babies. We collect them in our office, and then that runs from December 15th until January 22nd. And then what we do is we take all of those things and take them out to the different pregnancy resource centers across the state, urban and rural. And so that is a wonderful way. And we've had many pregnancy resource centers just so grateful. They just need things so much, especially in today's economy, and especially because the government took away the grant program that supported them in some ways. The Governor Walz and the legislature of 2023 repealed the Positive Alternatives Grant Program that provided a funding stream of about $3 million a year to these organizations that provide positive alternatives to abortion. And they not only repealed the program, they stopped the funding midstream. So the organizations that had been promised that grant money, it was just simply cut off.
Just cut off,
just
so they were
cut
left
off,
stranded.
and it's gone. And then they cut off that, and then they increased abortion facilities received an increase in their reimbursements by 20% in 2023, 20% again in 2024. So Governor Walz and the abortion leadership at the state legislature want one choice for women. They want women to choose abortions, and lots of them.
And now with this election, if Kamala Harris and Governor Walz get elected into the White House, they're going to bring this ideology to the rest of the nation.
Yes.
And it's so horrible to think about that, And then I'm also thinking too, consequences. How many procedures that are done for, say, women that go wrong?
That's very true. The complication rates are startling, actually, and especially with chemical abortions. Those are over 50% of the abortions that are done today are chemical abortions.
And that is what now?
Like an RU-486, where a woman can simply call an abortion facility, self-report how far along she is in the pregnancy, and they will mail her powerful drugs that will kill the child and then create severe cramping and bleeding so that she will expel that baby. And those are very, very powerful drugs. They're very dangerous drugs, especially the later in pregnancy. And women know that they can only get those drugs if their pregnancy is so far along within the first about 10 weeks. And there's no ultrasound that's done to determine the gestational age. There's no ultrasound that's done to determine if there's an ectopic pregnancy. If you take those drugs with an ectopic pregnancy, it can be fatal. And we've seen some of the results of chemical abortions being just simply mailed out with no oversight at all in Georgia just recently.
It's interesting to me that if you want to have some sort of medication as simple as that, you need a prescription, you need to have a checkup, or there might be lawsuits against that doctor or facility, but yet this is so easy to obtain, but then there's no ramifications if something goes wrong.
No.
No.
And oftentimes these women are told that they'll have some bleeding and some severe cramping. Those are the same things that will happen if she has an ectopic pregnancy. So she's not going to recognize that she's in trouble until it's often too late. And she's certainly not told that she is going to deliver her unborn child into the toilet. These women are not prepared for what they are going to see. And so the mental anguish that goes along with a chemical abortion is very high. It's very, very difficult.
Now, just before we close here, Cathy, just give us your website that they can go to and get connected with your organization.
So we're at MCCL.org. We also have a newer webpage that is called WhoAreTheyLeavingOut.com. WhoAreTheyLeavingOut.com, and that has information on our laws and who voted for them.
Wow, thank you so much. That is such great information. So please share this interview with your friends, other people that you may know is considering this procedure. Now, you can hear Ministry Connections each week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1:30 p.m. and also on demand on Facebook. Until next time, we thank you for listening, and God bless you.